This is the last macro pad you'll need, and it comes in a DIY kit. This is the Pabile P20. So I want to start off by saying I work and I play on my desk a lot. I spend most days on my desk, and I admit it's not the biggest or the most efficient, but I make it work. And I personally prefer smaller form factor keyboards, maximum of 65%, and I could go to even 40% sometimes. But there are times where I find the need to have a numpad for Excel and calculations, but I don't want a full keyboard because I think they are very inefficient. So I tried looking for a separate numpad. Nothing has worked for me because at the same time I wanted a numpad to be programmable and to also serve as a macro pad for shortcuts and stuff. So I tried getting a numpad and have it programmed with HID macros, but that was flimsy as all heck because every time I had to clean my desk, if I plug the numpad in a different port, all the macros will have to be changed and remapped. So eventually that got annoying. Then I tried another numpad from a Chinese company that was wireless, connected via Bluetooth. This at least had better software, I must admit, but it lacked in terms of shortcuts. I mean, it let you do a few macros here and there, but it was like playing with handicaps on, and the Bluetooth wasn't always 100%. I don't know if it's a Windows 11 thing or if it was the device itself. See, I like using the numpad, especially of course if it's already there. So why not use it, right? Like, it's so convenient. I remember this one time I had to do quite a bit of Excel and calculations for work. But before I even started, the Bluetooth was acting up. And it decided it didn't want to connect today. I think it took around 30 minutes trying to configure it. I ended up pairing it to the PC again and the numpad again to get it to work. So I got some work done, but the next time I realized you aren't subscribed yet, so please like and subscribe to the channel. And because I just wanted to use the numpad, it was again the same situation. I had to connect and reconnect the Bluetooth and pair it up again. So I don't know what was wrong, but I knew I didn't like this. So I said I would rather pull up another cable for my numpad than to just go through with another Bluetooth connection reconnection again. So at this point, I sold the numpad, the wireless one. So now I'm in need of a numpad that was wired and had a competent programming software. And wouldn't you know, Pabile keyboards had the P20. The P20 has been out for a while now, but recently Pabile keyboards have decided to make a DIY kit for all us keyboard nerds who like soldered builds. I mainly like it because of the trauma I got from hot swap keyboard, but that's a story for another day. So by the way, this is a sponsored build, but expect me to do a fair in reviewing the product. So yeah, let's get on with the build. So anyway, this DIY kit is similar to those you get with the likes of the Mercutio 40 or the Discipline 65. Sorry if I butchered one of them. Where you're given the main PCB with the prints of where and what to put in certain parts of the PCB. And then after hours of assembling it, it explodes! No, I'm just kidding. Or am I? But seriously, there are some of these that you really just find out after building it. And then you'll have to troubleshoot and look for where you made a mistake. If you're lucky, it's just a reverse diode, which won't break anything, but it will stop a switch from working. But a simple fix is just reversing the diode right back to the right orientation, and then you're good. If however you are unlucky and you reverse the capacitor, it may or may not smoke explode. So lucky you. These builds are actually for the brave of heart, and the sharp of eyes for reading the manual, which these usually come with, so don't worry. So yeah, back to the main assembly of the board. Honestly, the hardest part for me was the RGB lights. It's my first time soldering these, like brand new, instead of replacing them, so I had to learn a way to install them properly. A bit of a trial and error, but I found that it's better that you solder one corner of the LED while holding the whole LED in your hand or with tweezers, assuming you have it in the right orientation, and then you can solder the rest of the legs. It really isn't hard at all. The only problem is the RGB LEDs are wired in series, so that's one after the other. So if one is not working in the line, it stops there, which is also a good thing, honestly, because you can instantly troubleshoot where the problem starts and you can fix it there. It may just be needing replacement or resoldering or something. For whatever reason, it makes it easy to find. The major thing about this board is you. Yes, you. Because you can choose which layout you can put on this board, from a full 20 switch grid, or you can choose to install up to 4 knobs on the top row. Yes, you heard me right, 4 knobs. And yes, they are small knobs, but it's not about the size, it's the way you use it. But literally, that is the case for macro pads. Again, our magic word for keyboards is, yes class, preference. And that's what's important here. You being able to build a macro pad that can be used exactly for what you need it for, or what you want it for. And isn't that the essence of custom mechanical keyboards? Is you build something you use specifically for you. Especially when talking about macro pads, which are more function than looks. But make no mistake, this board still looks cool. There's something about 3D printed cases that gives me that DIY or unfinished look type of thing. Like how keycults do. Sorry, don't crucify me for comparing keycults to 3D printed cases, please. It's just installing the switches now, which we have some azure dragons here. Don't you just love the colors? Purple and teal is just such an aesthetic color. And I love how the switch feels. It's tactile, but not too tactile. And the long pole just makes it sound so nice. I just love these switches, if that wasn't obvious yet. So, more about the layout. I decided to use a very similar layout for the P20, which is a numpad, because I wanted to have this layout that was already familiar to me. And I've grown adept to using the numpad layout, that I don't need to look at it to know what I'm pressing. And yes, I know I'm sacrificing a fair bit of switches for potential productivity, but I think the less you look at your macro pad, the more productive you will be. And for me, I think having 3 2U switches makes it easy for muscle memory to kick in and find the switches instead of looking at them manually. If I had a grid of switches, I would just get lost in it. I just keep looking at it all the time. But that's just my preference. And mind you, I tried to edit this whole video by using the P20. Most of the time, like 80 to 90%. Just so I can see if I needed more switches in the grid. And I thought it was just right. In fact, I used only one layer, which I could just toggle with my escape plus the middle knob. And I just used one layer, and in fact there were more switches available to me. There were blank switches actually that I didn't use for the layer in video editing. And I had to even put some extras just so that I could fill them up, but I really couldn't fill them up. So this layout was more than enough. So about VIL. Believe me when I say, this is the last keyboard software you'll ever need. I know it, and the big brands know it, which is why a lot of the newer keyboards coming out from Gateron, Final Key, Akko, all have VIA or QMK compatibility. It's only a matter of time Razer, Logitech, and Corsair adapt it into their keyboards as well. But yeah, so you've heard of VIA, but I'm talking about VIA L. Don't ask me what the L stands for, because to me, it's a big W compared to VIA. They should have called it VIA W. But anyway, QMK used to be the only thing I use when it comes to my boards because of that LT function, which in my case makes my escape key also an MO key or an FN key. That will bring the current layer to layer 1, where I can go to the other layers of the board from there. Basically having different modes to the P20, and I just think the LT function is so powerful and removes the need for a dedicated MO key. That simply does one thing. Given that this board has a limited number of switches already, and I limited it even more by using the numpad layout, this function just maximizes it, and it makes the board that much more functional. And it's just things like these that show you how important programmability, and especially programmability through VIA, is. In my book, it's definitely a need, and it opens up your functionality to a whole other level. And this combination of functionality and the features of the board really collectively make this board such a worthy buy. So yeah, on this board, you'll have to install the Pro Micro in reverse, meaning the microcontroller has to be hidden like in between the PCBs. Pabile keyboards recommend you to put some electrical tape on either side so you don't get shorted on the Pro Micro or even the switches. But let's talk pricing. Right now, these boards are priced around 3,000 pesos. Depending on the layout and the case you choose. For me, that is just so worth it. Especially comparing it to other big brands like Keycaps, Glorious, which are almost double that, if not more. To be fair, they are aluminum cases, but I think for a macro pad, it is ideally better to be lightweight so you can easily move it around and mount it where you want. For me, I have a small desk that I use to shoot videos, work on, and edit on. So a lightweight and easy to move macro pad is better than having to lug around a big heavy thing. And plus, it's 3D printed. If you drop it, it breaks, just get another one. I don't think you can say the same thing for an aluminum board. That's a whole other process. And plus, it won't be too expensive. Sure, it doesn't give you that premium AF feel, but sure as hell it's gonna make up for that functionality. 3,000 is a bargain. But this DIY kit is going to be 1,900 pesos, Philippine pesos. Imagine this, 1,900 pesos, and you get this package. But of course, you can get this as stocks last. And don't worry, we also have a sound test for this keyboard. Yeah, seriously guys, you really need to check out his shop. He sells all of these different keyboards he's created, and a lot of them are based on the Pro microcontrollers, so definitely check it out, especially if you guys are in the Philippines. And of course, we have a project coming out which I'm pretty sure you guys are gonna love, so be ready for it. But anyway, thanks to our sponsor, Pabile Keyboards, and thanks to everyone for reaching this point. Please like and subscribe.